My father did not have to yell when he said it. He never did. Your classes are suspended until you apologize to Noah. The knife in my hand stopped halfway through the carrot. Across the table, my little brother tried to smooth out the smug smile creeping onto his face and failed. My mom dropped her gaze to her plate, her breathing just a little too fast, like she was waiting for me to explode so she would not have to deal with it herself. I did not explode. I set the knife down, tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear, and let the quiet settle over the table. It felt like dust drifting into every corner. "All right," I said. For a second, no one moved. They all heard that word and thought it meant I had given up. They had no idea what it actually meant. My name is Jenna Hale, I am 17 years old, and I grew up in a house where silence traveled faster than anything you could say out loud, where one look could decide who mattered and who did not. From the outside, we looked like the kind of family people complimented at the grocery store. Everyone clean, polite, put together. Inside, everything revolved around one person, my younger brother, Noah Hale. My dad, Grant, cared more about order than he ever cared about fairness. He loved routines, chore charts, schedules on the fridge, as if structure alone could make us a good family. My mom, Elise, loved quiet more than she loved truth. She worried about tension the way some people worry about broken glass, rushing to cover it up quickly, even if sharp edges were still sticking out. Nobody had to sit me down and explain my role. I learned it in pieces, in small moments that stacked up until they turned into a script I never agreed to read. When I was 10, Dad taught Noah how to ride a bike in the cul-de-sac. I sat on the curb with my own helmet in my lap, fingers hooked around the straps, waiting for my turn. Noah wobbled, tipped, fell twice. Each time Dad rushed over, laughing, lifting him back up like this was the most important lesson of his life. My bike stayed propped against the garage, untouched. "We will get to you next weekend," Dad called over his shoulder. I nodded. I believed him. Next weekend never came. Eventually the bike got moved to a corner, then into a yard sale, like it had always just been extra. When I was 12, Mom bought Noah a brand new jacket for picture day, still smelling like the store. She turned to me, dug into the back of her closet, and handed me one of her old scarves. "This makes you look so grown up," she said. I wrapped it around my neck, even though it smelled like detergent and her perfume, a little too strong. Later that week, Noah spilled juice on his new sleeve and Mom almost cried, patting at the stain like it was some kind of tragedy. The day I ripped the scarf on the bus, she did not say a word. I threw it away myself. Little things. Things most people would forget. Except I did not. By 14, my job in that house was official, even if nobody ever used the title. I was the fixer. The backup system. When Noah forgot his science project, I brought mine so he could copy it in homeroom. When he fell behind in class, I sat up late at the kitchen table walking him through concepts while he scrolled through his phone with one hand, half listening. Dad praised him at the next parent meeting. He just needed a push. The boy has potential. My part in it faded into the background, like steam on a bathroom mirror, there for a second, gone as soon as the room cooled down. The first time I really understood what that imbalance cost me, I was walking out of school with my debate folder tucked against my chest. I had just been told I would be leading our team in the regional round. It felt big, heavy in a good way, like my life had just clicked into a new track. Then I saw our car pull up. For Noah. He burst out of the building, sobbing loud enough to turn heads, complaining that someone had been mean to him. Dad did not even look in my direction. He kept the engine running, one hand on Noah's shoulder, talking low and serious like the whole day had been about that moment. I stood there on the sidewalk with my file in my hands, feeling the warmth drain out of it. Bye. The time they drove off, my reflection in the glass door behind me looked like a guest who had shown up to the wrong house. But the moment that really settled everything into place happened later, on a cold winter afternoon in the school parking garage. The fluorescent light above us buzzed and flickered, turning the concrete a strange sick color. I was cutting through the lower level when I heard a scuffle near one of the pillars. Noah had Ryan, a quiet boy from my math class, backed up against the concrete. Ryan's hands were up, voice shaking, trying to explain something I could not fully hear. Noah stepped closer anyway, that smile on his face that everyone else called playful, but I had learned to recognize as dangerous. I froze for a couple of seconds, just long enough to see fear change Ryan's expression. Then Noah shoved him, hard. Ryan hit the pillar and slid to the ground, wind knocked out of him. Something in me snapped into motion. I moved without thinking, putting myself between them, my voice sharper than I was used to hearing it. Stop it, Noah. Enough. He looked at me, really looked, eyes flat in a way that told me he did not actually care what he had just done. He stepped back only because we both knew there were cameras facing the row. Not because he felt guilty. Ryan avoided my eyes as he got up, mumbling thanks, hurrying away like he wanted to erase the whole thing. At home, I waited for my parents to confront Noah, to at least ask what had happened. Mom brushed my words aside with a tired wave of her hand. Boys' roughhouse. Do not blow it out of proportion, Jenna. Dad's jaw tightened. No drama, he said. You know how fast rumors spread. Do not make a scene that embarrasses this family. And Noah, sitting at the table with a snack like nothing had happened, caught my eye and smiled. Not an apology. A reminder. That was the night I understood the script in full. Noah created the mess. I was expected to absorb it. He hurt people. I cleaned it up or stayed quiet so the family could keep its nice image. And in our house, that was never going to change on its own. So when Dad made his announcement at dinner few weeks later, I should not have been surprised. We were halfway through the meal, forks clicking against plates, the TV humming softly in the other room. Dad folded his napkin slowly, like he was finishing a meeting at work. Tomorrow you are going to stand on that auditorium stage and apologize to Noah, he said. School-wide. Clear and simple. He did not ask, he did not explain. He just delivered it like a decision already signed and filed. Across from me, Noah kept his eyes mostly down, but the tiny pull at the corner of his mouth gave him away. He was enjoying this. Mom's fingers laced together in front of her like she was bracing for impact. They did not mention the footage from the garage camera. They did not talk about Ryan, or how hard Noah had pushed him, or how scared he had looked. Family stays together, Mom murmured, her voice shaking in that soft, practiced way she used whenever she wanted guilt to do her job for her. It is simple, Dad added. One public apology and this disappears. No more trouble. No more meetings. Done. Simple. They wanted me to stand under the lights and lie. To say their golden boy had only defended himself, to swallow the truth because keeping the family comfortable was more important than my integrity, or Ryan's safety, or how any of this actually felt. So you want me to lie? I asked quietly. Dad shook his head like I was the one being unreasonable. I want you to be responsible. That word had followed me my whole life, stretching into whatever shape they needed. Responsible meant covering for Noah. Responsible meant shutting up. Responsible meant carrying weight that never belonged to me. Noah finally looked up, eyes bright, like this was all entertainment. Come on, Jenna. Just do it. It's not that serious. That was the strange part. I did not feel angry right then. Not even hurt. Just clear. The sound of cutlery, the soft buzz of the kitchen light, the smell of vegetables cooling on the table, all of it felt distant, like I was already somewhere else in my mind. I tucked my hair back behind my ear again, that old nervous habit, and felt something inside me click into place, small and sharp and final. All right, I said. The word landed between us. Like a coin on tile. Noah's smirk faltered. Mom blinked fast. Dad opened his mouth like he was about to say more, but nothing came out. They thought they had one. They thought that word meant I was stepping back into the role they had written for me. They did not realize that was the moment I decided I was done playing it. By the next morning, the school sounded like it always did, lockers slamming, sneakers squeaking on the waxed floors, laughter bouncing off the walls like nothing serious ever happened there. I walked in slowly, letting the cold air cling to my sleeves a little longer. My hair was pulled back, my backpack was already on my shoulder, and if you had seen my face, you would have thought it was any other day. Noah was waiting, of course. He was leaned back against his locker like it belonged to him more than the school did, arms crossed, that practiced smirk already in place. My younger brother loved an audience, and he had one. A couple of kids from his friend group hovered nearby, pretending not to listen while eating it up. "Well," he called out, just loud enough to carry, "look who finally showed. Ready to practice your apology?" I didn't slow down. I didn't even look at him. I walked straight to my locker, spun the dial from muscle memory, and pulled the door open. His smirk slipped the second he saw inside. Every shelf was empty. Every hook bare. The only thing left was a single sheet of paper taped neatly to the metal back, the transfer approval letter, edges fluttering slightly from the draft in the hallway. Behind me, I heard it, that little ripple in the crowd. "Wait, is she transferring? Seriously?" The whispers moved faster than any announcement ever could. Noah's voice came next, sharper, higher. "Rowan, what did you do?" I swung my backpack properly onto my shoulder and closed the locker with a soft, final click. No drama, no slam, just closure. I stepped away. Noah rushed after me, panic finally cracking his usual attitude. He grabbed my arm. His fingers dug in a little harder than necessary. "Please tell me you didn't send it," he hissed. His voice shook. "Tell me you didn't make it official." Around us, students had gone quiet, phones halfway lifted, eyes wide. Noah Hale. The boy who never looked rattled, suddenly looked 10 years younger and very, very unsure. I peeled his hand off my arm with a simple twist and met his eyes for half a second. "Send what?" I asked. He swallowed, Adam's apple bobbing. "The transfer, the application, whatever. Just tell me it's not final." I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The silence said everything. I turned away and walked down the hall toward the main office, my footsteps steady, his uneven ones scrambling behind me. Inside the office, Principal Alden was already at his desk, posture straight, expression unreadable. Ms. Rivera, my counselor, stood beside him, fingers resting lightly on a thick envelope sealed with a gold crest. When she saw me, she didn't give me a sympathetic look or some soft, pitying smile. She just nodded once, like a checkpoint had been reached. I handed her the last set of printed forms from my folder. She scanned them carefully, signed where needed, and slid them to Principal Alden. He read the top page, his voice calm but carrying clearly in the room. "Full merit scholarship. Residential placement approved. Transfer effective immediately." Behind me, someone sucked in a sharp breath. I didn't have to turn around to know it was Noah standing in the doorway. The office door burst fully open a second later. My parents rushed in like they had been running on pure adrenaline. My father's tie was crooked, something I had never seen in my life. My mother's eyes were red, mascara smudged, her hand wrapped so tightly around her phone that her knuckles were white. "What is going on?" my father demanded. His voice finally had the volume he usually loved. "Nobody told us about any of this." I stayed where I was. Ms. Rivera placed the contract flat on the desk and rotated it so both of them could see the header. "It is already done," she said evenly. Rowan met every academic and behavioral requirement. The academy confirmed her placement last night. My father's jaw clenched. "Rowan, we did not approve this." Before I could respond, Principal Alden spoke, his tone precise. "Your approval is not required. She is nearly 18, and this is a merit-based boarding scholarship. All protocols have been followed." The silence that followed hit the room like a dropped weight. My mother's lip trembled, but she didn't say anything. Noah hovered just behind them, suddenly small in the doorway, his usual arrogance stripped down to confusion and fear. My phone buzzed in my hand. I pressed the speaker button and set it on the edge of the desk. "Good morning, Rowan," came a steady male voice. "This is Daniel Rowan from the Academy. Just confirming your transport for tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. sharp. You'll be escorted to campus, all arrangements finalized." My father stepped forward as if he could argue with the voice itself. "You can't just show up and take my daughter," he snapped. The man on the phone didn't raise his voice, but something in it went colder. "She is a scholarship student, almost 18, and has signed all necessary documents. Relocation is fully compliant with our policies. Any attempt to interfere will be recorded." The room went completely still. Behind me, Noah finally broke. "Dad, don't," he blurted. His voice cracked. "It's done. You can't fix this." My mother slapped a hand over her mouth, tears sliding out faster than she could blink them away. My father didn't have another argument. He just stared at the paperwork on the desk like the words might rearrange themselves if he glared at them hard enough. I ended the call and slipped my phone back into my pocket. Nobody tried to stop me when I turned. The doorway was crowded now, students pretending they had official business in the office just to catch a glimpse. They shifted back automatically, creating a path without really knowing why. I walked through them without looking right or left, not at my father's stunned face, not at my mother's shaking shoulders, not at my brother's wide eyes. The only sound was the quiet echo of my footsteps on the tile. Clean. Unhurried. Final. The next morning in Washington, D.C. did not feel like the mornings at home. The air was crisp, dry, almost sharp in my lungs in a way that woke me up from the inside. The shuttle rolled to a stop at the Academy gates just as the sun cleared the skyline, turning the glass buildings warm and gold instead of cold and distant. I stepped down with one suitcase in each hand. The wheels clicked lightly over the pavement as I walked. No one was shouting instructions at me. No one was telling me what my role was supposed to be. There were no chore charts or printed house rules taped at eye level. Just open space and a path in front of me. Inside the dorm, the hallway smelled faintly like new paint and laundry detergent. It reminded me of fresh pages. My room was small, but bright. One twin bed made with clean white sheets, one wooden desk, one dresser, one window that actually opened without sticking. I set my bags down, crossed the room, and pushed the window up. Cool air washed over my face, and something in my chest finally loosened. For the first time in years, I took a deep breath that didn't feel like it had to fit inside somebody else's expectations. Classes started fast. Debate in the morning, political theory after that, a research lab block in the afternoon. Professors didn't know my family name. They knew my test scores, my writing samples, the recommendation letters my counselor had stayed up late typing. When I raised my hand, people looked at me not because I was supposed to fix anything for them, but because they actually wanted to hear what I had to say. Noah's shadow didn't reach here. There was no golden boy to orbit, no brother to cover for, no father waiting for me to pick the responsible option that always meant less of me and more of everyone else. In the library that afternoon, the light poured in through tall windows and laid itself across the long tables in soft rectangles. Students worked quietly in small groups, laptops open, books spread out, low voices trading ideas instead of accusations. I spread my notes in front of me, clicked my pen twice, and felt a new kind of quiet surround me. Not the thick, suffocating quiet of home, full of unsaid rules and swallowed protests. This quiet felt clean. Chosen. Safe. My phone buzzed once in my pocket, an unfamiliar Maryland number lighting up the screen. I let it ring. It stopped. Then another call came, then another. The screen flashed, Mom, once, Dad, once, then finally, Noah. I watched each one appear and disappear without touching the phone. Then I turned it face down on the table and held it there for a second, palm resting flat. After dinner, I walked the loop of the campus path. Small ground lights lined the sidewalk, glowing softly like fireflies that had decided to hold still for a while. I passed a group of students laughing over some inside joke, a pair bent over a textbook under a tree, someone jogging past with earbuds in, lost in their own world. It all looked normal. Gentle. A life that didn't demand that I split myself in half just to keep the peace. When I went back to my room, the desk lamp cast a warm circle over my empty notebook. I sat down, ran my hand over the blank page, and felt the steadiness in my fingers that hadn't been there before. The last 24 hours had rearranged my entire life, not with screaming or slammed doors, but with a quiet, deliberate decision. I wasn't running away from my family. I was finally running toward myself. Some families teach you loyalty. Mine taught me limits. The day they tried to hang my future on an apology I did not owe was the day I posted my exit, clean and silent, and never looked back. Doors don't always close with noise. Sometimes they close with a breath, a choice, a single step forward. And when they do, you realize something important. Real freedom doesn't announce itself. It just lets you breathe. The first full week at the academy moved in a rhythm I wasn't used to. Mornings shaped themselves around lectures and debates that demanded actual thought, not obedience. Evenings unfolded into quiet study sessions in the library, the hum of other students working forming a kind of gentle background music. Nobody compared me to anyone. Nobody measured my worth by what I could fix for them. I existed without apology, without being evaluated against my brother's needs. But freedom, even when it feels right, still comes with echoes. On the fourth night, as the sky outside my window faded to a soft blue, my phone buzzed again. The screen lit up with a long line of missed calls, each one another piece of the life I'd walked out of. I let it buzz until it silenced itself. Then I powered it off and set it inside my desk drawer. Let the past ring. I didn't owe it an answer. By Friday, the school sent out a short announcement during first period. It wasn't about me by name, but everyone knew. Effective immediately, a restraining notice has been filed to prevent interference with a student's ongoing transfer process. Students glanced at one another, at me, at the hallway, and then back at their phones. But no one said anything. This wasn't gossip. It was fact. My family had tried something after I left. Something messy. Something desperate. And whatever they had attempted, the academy shut it down before it reached my dorm. That afternoon, Ms. Rivera met me in the library. She pulled a chair next to me and sat down with the same steadiness she'd shown me since day one. "Your parents contacted the district," she said quietly. "They tried to contest the transfer. The board denied it. The academy filed a protection notice to ensure they cannot interfere again." I waited for the guilt to land, the familiar weight settling on my shoulders. But it didn't. All I felt was an almost painful relief. Like air finally filling the parts of my lungs that had been tight for years. "I just want to keep moving forward," I said. She nodded. "You already are." That night, after most students had gone to bed, I sat at my desk with my notebook open to a blank page. The lamp lit the room softly, and I let my thoughts settle into something clear, something steady. I didn't hate my family. I didn't wish them harm. I just refused to live inside a version of myself they created for their comfort. The next morning felt like a new chapter wearing a fresh coat of sunlight. I walked to the debate hall for orientation. When the advisor read my name off the roster, he paused slightly. "You're the transfer student from the Northeast?" "Yeah," I said. "That's me." He nodded once, like he respected that more than he needed details. Later, while walking across the quad, I took a seat near the fountain. The water fell in soft arcs, catching the light like scattered glass. I watched students laugh, argue gently about class notes, share snacks, rush to practice. Regular, ordinary pieces of life. But to me, it felt like stepping outside after years in a house with no windows. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folded photo. The one from years ago. The beach. My father with the sun in his eyes. My mother smiling. Me, small and hopeful, sitting on his shoulders. I held it for a long moment. Not with longing. With acceptance. People can love you and still fail you. People can be family and still hurt you. And letting go doesn't always mean shutting the door. Sometimes, it just means not standing in the doorway anymore. I stood, walked to the nearest trash bin, hesitated only 1 second, and then dropped the photo inside. It didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like release. Later that evening, while the sky turned purple at the edges, I walked to the campus overlook. Trees stretched out beneath me, rooftops layered in quiet harmony. The kind of view that makes you realize how big the world actually is when no one is standing in the way. I whispered a single sentence into the cool air. I'm done shrinking. The wind carried the words away, not like a secret but like a promise I intended to keep. I walked back to my dorm with a steady step, unlocked the door, and felt something settle in my chest that I had chased my entire life. Peace. Not borrowed. Not conditional. Mine. And as I sat at my desk and opened my notebook, pen poised above the page, I finally wrote the truth that had taken me nearly 18 years to understand. Some families teach you loyalty. Mine taught me limits. And once I reached them, I did what they never expected. I walked toward a life that was finally my own. The door behind me didn't slam. It closed quietly, the way freedom always does.